Why to not delay developing your pieces in chess? Hey, this is H1. We're going to be running it back with another episode talking about chess knowledge, chess wisdom, and chess understanding. And yeah, I got my hand in my pocket because I just wanted to be cool today. And especially after this game that I seen, this game is going to be ugly. I'm not going to lie. And this game was, white pieces was Paul Karras, and then black name was Verback. And the date supposedly was 1933. Nobody clearly knows if it has 15 question marks around it. But anyway, I just got to double check it. Yeah, seems pretty good to me. Let's get started. A lot of people wrestle with what is the right move to start off with. And Paul Karras at this moment did one of my favorite opening moves, d4. And after d4 was played, Verback decided to play d5. After d5 was played, Paul decided not to care about what was going on, not to care about whatever opening that Verback prepared. And Paul decided to do the move e4, and you already know what opening this is. The Black Mar, Deemer? I think it's Deemer Gambit. I don't want to say like the Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't want to talk about him, even though everybody's talking about him. But it's the Black Mar Deemer Gambit, right? I don't care. So after e4 was played, Verback was like, I don't even want to play that gambit. Whatever you're trying to make me play, I don't want to play it. I'm not taking the pawn. Let's just play a regular French defense. Please play knight c3, e5, please. And so Paul Karras is like, nah, take the pawn, like bishop e3, you got a second chance. And then Black understood that he was being disrespectful. Paul Karras is being disrespectful. And so Verback was like, you think I'm playing? Do you know who you playing? You think I'm playing with you? And so he took the pawn. He took on e4. And after taking on e4, then we got the move knight d2. And yes, Paul Karras is like, you fell for my trap. And Verback clearly wasn't prepared because he was still challenging Paul Karras to a duel of who was gonna keep that pawn or not, because he decided to do the move f5, protecting the pawn again, even though, is it really the best move? Especially when he was the only person, the only master recorded that went through this line. After the move f5 was played, then we have f3. Paul Karras is like, since you're that boastful, you're probably going to take that pawn since you're heated up right now, since you thought that I was being disrespectful with you. And so Verback was like, I will take that pawn, actually, and thank you. And so Paul Karras got a pretty good position. 3 pieces already developed at this moment, and Verback decided to only push up 3 pawns. He's only moved pawns at this whole moment, and he decided to put the knight at f6 because he remembered, oh snap, there are chess principles to play at this moment. And then Paul Karras is like, I'm just gonna play regular chess at this moment. And then Verback was still on the prowl by doing a move c5, and that is a disrespectful pawn move because you realize that your opponent did a gambit, right? And let's go over the evaluation, because I think I went over this before in a gambit video. When your opponent does a gambit, you're behind in development. And if you're behind in development, do you think that you should be doing moves like c5? Your opponent sacrificed material, and now he's like double the time. He got like double the time in development. My king is safer than yours because I'm going to castle pretty soon. I have more center control because I have more pieces developed. I got these 2 bishops aiming towards the center and these knights. You're just attacking with pawns, but these pawns are useless if I have more development. Space, it's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky even though I have more development. I guess you could say, you can argue that white has more space because of the bishops that are aiming down towards the enemy camp, and these bishops are still laid back, chilling, not caring for the world. So I guess let's just give that to white, right? And then pawn structure. Pawn structure, pawn structure, pawn structure. It is equal, even though we are down in material. We don't have more pawn islands. We don't have an isolated pawn. We don't have a backwards pawn. We don't have any weaknesses in our pawn structure, even though we're down in material. And so what happened was, after c5 was played, Paul Keres is like, oh, just gonna do c5. Take it. Take the pawn. That's all you're gonna do to me. Take it. And so Verbak was like, I will take the pawn since you offered it. And then knight takes on d4 was played, and then a massive blunder. It's just blunders after blunder. It's like Verbak didn't know how to play chess, especially when he played the move f4. Do you see this? f4 was played at this moment. Isn't that an ugly move to be, like, all these pawn moves are ugly moves to be playing when your opponent does a gambit? Doesn't make sense in my head because I got all these chess principles, and I'm like, why would a human being, knowing, I guess, was there chess books back then? What was this, 1930? There was chess books back then. You had to learn Russian, but still, everybody knew Russian back then. Come on, you can't be playing moves like f4. So since f4 was played, Paul Keres is like, I will take it with the rook. What are you going to do about it? Are you really going to do something about me taking the pawn with the rook? And then Verbak was like, I had this fork. I had this fork all along and you fell for it. What are you doing now? And so Paul Keres is like, okay. You had that fork, but I already had the plan. I was just gonna check you right here. That was my plan. I was just gonna check you right here. And you know, the best move in this position was just to do bishop d7. And just to go back, I'm just now seeing that actually Paul Keres made a mistake because he should have just took this knight on f6. He had this check and a whole lot of other stuff, right? But he played bishop b5 because we're all human and we don't make correct moves all the time. But bishop d7 seems reasonable to do. And white is still winning in that position, like 1.5 advantage that the chess engine is giving Paul Keres. But Verbak just seemed like he has some vendetta against Paul Keres of playing that opening. And so he decided to play king f7. Which was confusing. It's mind-boggling. I know it's a confusing move because not only is it like a double blunder, but the computer is giving Paul Keres an 18.7 advantage, which I've never seen in my life. And after queen h5, checking the king, g6, we got some dangerous moves that was played, especially after bishop c4. And yes, you're going to get checked out the wazoo for like the next few turns. But then he ran into checkmate in 3 by doing the move king g7. Can you find the checkmate in 3? Well, since I love queen sacrifices so much, you should be able to find the checkmate in 3 since I said that. Come on, you did a gambit, you're Paul Keres, your opponent is clearly playing stupid moves, right? Like just being a straight trash bag, being a straight whatever he's being on the chessboard. You know, there's nothing personal, but I haven't seen Verbak. I don't know who he is. It was back in 1933. You think he's still alive? I don't know. Who cares? But anyway, after king g7 was played, we got the move queen h6. Queen h6. King takes on h6. Rook h4. King back to g7. Bishop h6. Just like deal with that checkmate right quick. Just recognize how beautiful that checkmate is. And this is checkmate to all my beginners because This bishop is attacking this king. This king cannot take this bishop because of the rook on h4, and this king cannot go to the g8 or f7 squares because of this bishop that is taking control of the a2, the g8 diagonal. And so this king is in checkmate because it's being clearly attacked like right in the face by this bishop. And man, I don't want to be checkmated right in the face like that. Like, I don't want you to be right here punching me. That's kind of what it feels like with the bishop that close to the king being checkmated. Tell me what you think in the comments. It's ugly. I don't even want to look at that. I don't even want to look at the board anymore. Just take the king off.